seeds.
Yeah.
There's lots of different
So let's
genetic
say they do
expressions.
10 of them. There's 1 through 10. It's pretty
a lot
pretty
of times.
straightforward.
Yeah, then that's
or
the way
100 or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the way we'll number a lot of those things. I've cracked as many as 100 of the same genetic, and
It gets a little awkward when it's like GG77.
Well, yeah, and that's and honestly,
Ooh, that sounds dank.
Honestly, that's where it gets weird. Is
Well,
when you have those big pheno hunts, and then someone's like, "Why is this whatever number 54?"
Well,
and you're
but typically when it gets like that, even I'll take that a step further. They won't actually even name it. Now they just name that phenotype. So now it's like
We're Jug Dealers, we're the podcast you need in your feed. Teaching the game like you never seen. Jared, Gabe, Rambo, true OGs. Masters of the globe, set your mind free. From Denver, Colorado, where the dead is green. We set the data points for the SOPs. Jug Dealers Podcast, yes indeed.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Jug Dealers Podcast, where we discuss all things cannabis and lifestyle related, brought to you by the good people at 5-8. And now with JugDealers.net, JugDealers.net and JugDealers.shop. And then also, what is it? JugDealers.net/samples, where you can request samples from us if you're looking for commercial samples or hobby samples. Either way, hit us up. Let's see what we can do for you. We got a couple little packages, right?
Yeah, we're working on actually putting some packages together. Honestly, it's been such a flood of requests. We've kind of had to deal with this. So also keep in mind, anybody that may have put in a request, we do see you. It hasn't gone into a black hole or anything like that. It's just taking us a bit to get through them.
We were a little overwhelmed.
Turns out you guys give us a lot of love. Thank you.
You're rather interested in trying stuff out. So thank you very much. Keep doing that. Please, the guys that have put it in there, guys and gals for that matter, go ahead and just be patient. We will get to you. But that's kind of where we're at. We're also going to do, this is going to be a little bit of a different episode.
Strain talk.
Dude. Yeah, we're going to do a little strain talk.
Some people hit us up about, we've been doing it between Jaron and I think we have a combined 40 some odd years of experience. So, we've seen a lot of different things and we got a lot of people who ask us questions. So we're going to talk about some genetics today. Grambo, can you get us started off with a quick listener shout out? We got a lot of people who've really been tuning in and kind of sharing the love. So I think you had 3 you wanted to highlight.
We always say, look, we see you guys. And this week I like to shout out Crawdaddy. You're always in there. You're one of the hardcores out there.
Thank you.
Yes, my man, Aaron Woodley. He is a gangster in there, top commenter. And let's go with the 607 Genetics. We see you too, buddy. Thank you guys. These guys, we're talking 100 comments a month. You guys are highly engaged. You ask great questions. And stay tuned for the next questions.
I'm going to give a personal shout. Being as this is a genetics episode, I'm going to give a personal shout out to Moondog as well. He's one of the dudes that follows me on IG. Yeah. We actually had a great I'll just start this episode off and before we get into the strains we like, I had posed with Jake the question we talk about with a parent that's better than GMO, how we say GMO is better than the parents, in my opinion. He threw out Grease Monkey. And Grease Monkey is GG. I'll be honest with you.
No.
I don't know enough about it, but I don't think
GG4 is better.
GG4 is,
hell
I think,
no.
Here's the thing. I think,
not even close.
I think aesthetically, Grease Monkey has some really nice attributes.
Sure. It's got a little more color.
Yeah. And not for nothing, the GG4 can be a little woolly sometimes, but overall for me,
ain't woolly for me, baby.
That's a tough one.
That's one of Jaron's favorites for all you guys that don't know.
And for anybody who's listening, Moondog, it's not only is it one of Jaron's favorites, one that he's hauled around for years. He does do it really well. It's the same with his GMO. His GMO is definitely different than the GMO that I have, but the way he does it, his expression and stuff like that, we'll actually discuss later. The garlic cocktail, one of our friends grows it. The way he does it, his expression is very nice. So, but yeah, I thought that was interesting because he threw out Grease Monkey, which is Gorilla Glue cookies.
I believe so. It's definitely a GG4 cross, and I'm just like, nah.
Cookies.
I have literally, in fact, I went on a quest for a while to try and find a better Gorilla Glue cross than Gorilla Glue. Never found it.
I'll tell you what, I have a bunch of seeds from Root Cellar. I'm about to do a huge Gorilla Glue cross hunt. So I'll be eager to see if I can find
Now, I will say for me, right? Because obviously all this stuff is nothing is objective. All this is subjective. For me, I like that sand sandalwoody, earthy, musky. I love that.
It's great
profile.
smoke. Like for just
that's the thing.
I think the thing with you too is you're a flower smoker.
Yeah.
And so that flavor, man, it just resonates, man.
And I'll say that for me, the effect always works. Like, there's a couple GMOs, another one of them that I always feel like I can very effectively, it always works. You know what I mean? There's definitely a few strains you're like, oh, that was cool for a little while. And then it just, doesn't start slapping the same way. It's like, no matter what, every single time, every single hit, glue slaps for me. So I do think, and I will say that, for anybody out there that goes, I love Grease Monkey. Hey, it's a good strain. I'm just saying for me and my flavor profile, because my head always continually went back to Gorilla Glue. If it wasn't a GG4 leaner, then that wouldn't even be a selection that I'd like anyway. So anyway.
Moondog's got us on repeat. So he's going to have this in the grow room. He's going to be thinking about what you're saying when you say that.
So
I and like, hey man, I'm almost in the same. Gorilla Glue's hard to beat, man. It really is. It just and for me personally, as an extract guy, bro, it absolutely slams when it comes to extracts.
It's incredible. That's the thing.
I remember dry. I've seen as high as 25%, which is insane. That's a big number.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about Jayhawk and I are going to talk about our top 5 strains that we really enjoy. For me, I think it's going to be more along. I'm just going to focus more on what I like commercially as far as for commercial viability. I know Jayhawk's list is a little bit different, but I think we actually have some ones where we might have the same stuff.
Yeah, it's possible.
I'm going to go backwards on mine. So I'm going to start with number 5 and I'll end with number 1. Do you want to start or you want me to start?
Yeah, no, I can start. I mean, and I'll actually go the other direction since we're already halfway there anyway. But, Gorilla Glue has always been one that's
your number 1?
That's my number 1. Yeah. I mean, that's for me would be the Desert Island strain. I'll say that it's always very, very consistently produced for me. You know what I mean? It's definitely one of those ones too, where like you stack it up, you go, oh man, I don't know. It was one of the first strains that like really said to
that
me,
really explains why you feel the way you do.
Yeah. But also is one of the first strains that I looked at and I go, oh, oil truly does way more than plant matter, because you'd have X amount of plant matter, what that amount looks like in the tray. You've done enough of it, and then you throw it on the scale. You're like, damn, this thing weighs. It's very oily. It's very extractable. I like the style of the flowers. They're tight, but not too tight.
What's the more just for now? Understand, we understand these things. This is for the listener.
It is it's a floppy, not the prettiest plant to grow to begin with.
Long internodal spacing,
pretty long internodal spacing. Not real thick stems.
How long do you take it?
I usually take it about 9 weeks.
Okay.
And I always double trellis it because it doesn't hold up on its own. So that's one thing that I think really it took me a while to get it dialed in. But
commercially, that's probably why it's a pain in the ass, because that extra trellising.
It's just a little bit floppy, but it gets these absolute cannons, and it's just a grease ball. I mean, it absolutely. And maybe we'll do something, Grambo, where we'll do some pictures of some of these on the IG.
On the IG.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram. Little deals behind the scenes,
all that good stuff. So, Oh, by the way, JugDealers.net. We do have our Black Friday deals going on, and we do happen to be in Vegas right now.
All of us, the whole Jug Dealers crew, we're in Vegas right now.
I cannot remember the booth right now.
Come see us. Insert booth number here.
Yeah.
Just have a little thing right there, booth number. And but come see us in Vegas.
Down.
We'd love to see you. We'd love to meet you.
I'll tell you right now, the cultivation hall is not that big, so we're in the smaller cultivation hall. We will be easy to find. We're 10 by 30. We have a huge DLI set up. Please do come and see us. We'd love to interact with you guys out there. Slight little sidebar, but anyway, for me, Desert Island wise, I will say that it's all about the smoke for me. I love the final flower.
You're a true flower smoker.
I love the final flower. It is not a beginner. It's not a beginner strain. Just since it can take the newts, it can take this, but I also will say this, and even going all the way back to, I believe Cap was the first person I ever saw on the forums talk about what was originally called dudding, which we now know to be hop latent.
Yeah, hop latent.
But it was called dudding because nobody had another word for it. I've actually seen it in Gorilla Glue, and that was the first plant I ever saw it cited on. And I believe it is truly latent in the fact that, like, I've literally had 2 of the same next to each other, and one of them was like, this isn't even the same plant. It just
depended on the branch you cut off.
And I was able to go back to the healthy one, take a new cut off it. And I mean, but at the same time, I've seen a little bit of weirdness, but it's been so consistent for me. And man, when it's good,
so have you ever heard of Gorilla Glue 5?
No. Supposedly there was a 7 out there as well.
Caesar. I was in Los Angeles, and we actually bumped into each other on a plane.
Yeah.
and I gave him a ride, and he's like, "Oh, I got this stuff. It's Gorilla Glue 5, you know." And I'll be honest with you, really, really memorable flower. Still that same palette.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be. Well, for sure, there was obviously more of it. I mean, if there was a 4, that means there was at least a 3 and probably a 5. You know, maybe even I have heard of 7, GG7.
Okay.
But again,
anybody in the comments, if you want to throw it out there, we'd love to hear.
Which is an interesting thing to point out, just because we do get some new listeners. Like when you see those numbers, that's not just like how they're naming them. Those are like a number of a phenotype. When they pop seeds, there's lots of different genetic
let's say they do
expressions.
10 of them. There's 1 through 10. It's pretty,
a lot
pretty
of times.
straightforward.
Then that's
or
the way
100 or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the way we'll number a lot of those things. I've cracked as many as 100 of the same genetic, and it
gets a little awkward when it's like GG77.
Well,
but,
and that's and honestly,
that sounds dank.
Honestly, that's where it gets weird. Is when you have those big pheno hunts, and then someone's like, "Why is this whatever number 54?"
Well,
and you're
but typically when it gets like that, even I'll take that a step further. They won't actually even name it. Now they just name that phenotype. So now it's like white truffle, for example.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes they'll call it. It's like, oh, I got the GMO, the Jaren cut.
Well, and that's where like something like the super booth comes in, because the super booth isn't really it's not a strain.
It's not a strain.
It's blackberry.
That's
fascinating.
Just a
certain,
Blackberry.
It's just
selection.
Whoever's selection of blackberry,
which I believe was Mobile J.
Yeah,
I believe. Shout out to Mobile J.
And look, that's the way a lot of us have differentiated ourselves, especially when you have all these people that are buying all these different seeds. Let's use Fletcher for instance. 10 different cultivators have Rainbow Cadillac. They have their own things going on. So they're selecting literally through the seeds.
So we actually get through this list in a realistic amount of time. Gabe, number 5, why don't you take it away?
So mine is actually going to be the garlic cocktail. So that's a GMO mimosa cross. Realistically, I put, again, my list is more commercial. One of the reasons I put this on here is because.
Hey everybody, just wanted to let you know we are doing a very special Black Friday sale from November 16th to 29th. It is 30% off site-wide on our Jug Dealers shop website. And also, we are doing a free mystery sample of a new product that we're coming out with for all orders over $50. So again, 30% off site-wide, along with a mystery sample of a new product we have coming out for all orders over $50. That is our Black Friday sale. It's going on November 6th to November 29th. Now back to the show.
One of the reasons I put this on here is because it really dumps when it comes to actually how much flower it produces. It hits all the marks when it comes to extract.
Strong.
It's not, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not the biggest fan of citrus, but citrus sells. And so it really doesn't have anything to do with my personal opinion as far as citrus.
I mean, citrus, in fact, that
it is
strain,
the highest
that
selling.
strain won the Florida Cup.
Yeah,
Go figure.
Just data wise, if you look at the trends, citrus is what sells. So truth of the matter is, that's why I select that with that mimosa.
You know what? And I hate to cut you off, but one of the things I found rather interesting about that, because I agree with you, right, but you got to think about it. It's the younger generation that really likes the citrus. So let me pose this thing.
The vapes.
Vapes.
Yeah, and actually, I think it was Kevin. I think it was Kevin Dotry.
Kevin Dotry that was talking about. No, I don't want to steal that.
Kevin for sure.
I was like, I'm sitting here going,
it makes perfect sense. And honestly, that's why you're seeing a lot. That's why you see the gelatos.
Candy gas, I think he specifically mentioned the candy gas. That's why you see
the gelatos, the runts, and stuff like that. The only one of those I have on my list, I'll keep it for a surprise. It starts with a Z, but it,
and ends with an Iddles? Anyway.
Well, hey, look, there's a lot of Z strains nowadays. It could be Zope, could be all kinds of things. But that's really why I'm picking garlic cocktail, because, it ticks a lot of the boxes.
That is a strong plant. I will say it's easy to grow.
Oh yeah.
It is
way easier than GMO.
Way easier, but it's going to stretch somewhat similar to GMO, not quite as aggressive, but way bigger, way better bag appeal, good color, great smell, thick nugs. Kind of got almost that like a bulbous aspect to it, so quite nice.
And it's funny too. Our buddy Brandon grows it, and the way that he cultivates, he uses all our nutrients, and he doesn't. I don't know what he's doing different than me, but truth of the matter is, his is let's say 70-30, where it's 70 GMO, 30 mimosa. And it's such a nice combination because it's not overbearing. A lot of these citruses can be really heavy duty.
It's not all TNG. It has what I like to say, a little bit of a skunk back. It's more complex.
All right, let's go with your second one.
Let's go with number 2. So we've been speaking about it already, but GMO, again, from an extract wise, it is my very favorite extract. bottom line, shout out to Kind Bill. He's done some of those beautiful GMO extracts.
Yours was very oniony, which is
sharp.
way different than, my the cut that I had grown. Was way more that halitosis, just like.
Well, and I think again, where the terpene profiles develop over time and whatnot. And I will say that, I was always able to do mine in 9 weeks or less, but hitting it very, very hard with winter. Actually, two things, because it's really from both ends. So I'm starting at giving it a really heavy dose of decision to get through that transition zone, which does fast, which is going to reduce stretch and get it through the transition zone faster to take a couple days of the flower off the back end.
Well, and the one thing I thought. When we had our discussion about it was I've always grown them under HBSs.
Yeah.
Growing them under an LED is going to shorten that flower time.
The phenotype is going to shorten the flower time a little bit.
Between the decision, between the
LED
winter frost
and winter frost
and the LED.
Because you got decision on one end.
You're shaving some time off. And again, I think, talking to Jake last week, it seems like there may be two different cuts out there, but either way,
which I did see in the comments, that created some good.
Yeah, that created some good fodder.
Some people said yay, some people said no.
I mean, it's interesting because there's 3 cuts of Girl Scout cookies. So there's Forum, there's Thin Mints, and there's Platinum. They're all very, very different.
And one of the reasons, from what I understand, and even from what Jigga and Burner and some people said that were in that scene, was that he's like, dude, we were doing some breeding, bro. There was some random pollinations. There were beans that ended up in the bay, and that's how you had out of that original cookies. You have a few of those, similar but different cuts that have gone around.
Well, and just think about the GMO and what it is as far as that ChemD and cookies.
Yep.
It's two great ones.
So I mean, again, I like it as flower smoke, but really as an extract, I think that's where it really performs. Can be a little bit unruly. Isn't the best bag appeal, but man, the nose on it and the flavor of GMO, it's the best.
Yours has a little bit better bag appeal, and this is why.
But I've worked on that hard.
And what I can say is, we both discuss what phenotype is. What I can say is, I'm 99% sure that your cut is different than mine. I understand that skunk. Look, man, here's the deal. People sneak genetics out of buildings. All kinds of shit happens. I'm not saying I don't respect what Skunk Master Flex said. I definitely, and not for nothing. Maybe there were other seeds. Who the hell knows? But what I can say is, yours is denser.
Other people, and by the way, he didn't even breed it. Other people, Mamico Seeds is who bred it, and that's a Spanish. So that's a selection from Mamico Seeds. So other people got those beans.
This was not one seed.
Yeah, this wasn't a one seed thing.
I'm a firm believer in that. In which, yes, your cut is pretty incredible. And for your style of growing, I'll be honest with you, mine I couldn't unless I flowered it. When it's like a foot high, I don't think I could finish it, or I could finish at my place, but in a tent, I don't think you could do it. So, and by the way, GMO actually is my number one, only because for me, it has ticked all the boxes. We've seen as high as, I want to say, 104 grams a square foot. The only thing I never liked about GMO was the time it went. But honestly, utilizing winter frost in a commercial setting
helps with that so much.
Basically, you get it to the size that you're happy with, and then you hit it with the winter frost and get. And
let me be very clear: if I'm taking it down at 9 weeks or 8.5 weeks or 9 weeks instead of 10 weeks, there's a lot of bulking that happens in GMO in that last week. Mm-hmm. So I am definitely sacrificing some yield, and the terpene profile is going to be slightly different. But winter still gets it to.
Are you
finish.
Are you doing like a 10-day flush? Are you shortening up that flush at all?
So I at least a 10-day. I'll be honest with you. That thing, it's okay. So you know how it is.
It's a hungry bitch.
It is, but certain strains like cookie strains that are already wanting to finish in the almost 7.5 weeks, not even 8. Winter looks at it.
It does turn it. It does turn it real quick.
Winter looks at that and it's going to turn it. With me, the GMO always seemed to hang, and then right at the end, past 10 days, it just dove into the ground. All of a sudden, you've actually got purple families. And yes, I did say you can get purple out of GMO. Got to be patient.
Dude, you look at the pictures on my site.
Gotta be patient. But it was funny because it was the first time I did it. I was like, dude, is the winter even working? It just held on.
It's tough.
Hit 10 days on and went.
It's kind of like Chem 4 in that respect. It just doesn't want to finish.
But again, certain things, winter can look at it and it just starts finishing, and you're almost like, oh shit, that's almost too fast. I should have hit it a little bit earlier. And then, I got aggressive with decision. decision. I got aggressive with winter, and then obviously pruning techniques, things like that. Trellising is a good idea with GMO as well. You're not going to get the biggest. I mean, I got it to slam, but anyway, GMO is my next one. What's your? Or is it me? Or is it you?
It is you.
Okay,
is you.
all right.
We just happened to because we were talking about the same.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go, and these aren't even necessarily in order, by the way. Mac, I'm going to go Mac 1, and
Interesting.
A couple reasons for that. Number one, obviously shout out to Capular. That's I think a unique and amazing strain.
It's a great genetic.
It's
bro.
just a great genetic.
It is. It does have some idiosyncrasies though, as far as,
and I'll address those.
It is. Well, go ahead. You address it.
Yeah, I mean, so the main thing that it's always said is it veges slow.
So slow.
Which,
but caveat, grower tip, everybody tune in. What's the mark right now? 12 minutes?
About 20.
Tune in. This is the narc.
So here's what I would say. The reality is Mac doesn't veg slow. What it is Mac is a light whore. If you actually get on Cap's page, look at his page, look at the way that he has those 315
So for all these people that are turning the lights down, figuring
give it more
sensitive,
light. Give it more light. Give it more light.
What?
If you literally I took, because I run all my stuff like on LED at like 25% just to keep it from growing too fast. I turn it up one time all the way up to 100. Dude, it literally is vegging right along with everything else.
You wouldn't think that. There's a couple genetics like that, like Cushman's and stuff like that. Where I
used to always run it with Cushman's together because it would respond like that too. But I'll tell you, again, you don't believe me? Go look at the way that his lights are stacked in his room and tell me that shit isn't slammed with light.
Shout out to Cap, man.
So,
it's a great genetic. The one thing I love about that, it's not in my list because of that commercial part.
Yeah.
It can be a pain in the ass. We do have some buildings that grow it well, but the profile on it is very unique. The morphology on it is great in flower.
Alien.
It's so frosty. I mean,
it's crazy
and the flavor on it, when done right,
is really good.
Delicious.
Whoever said
it's not even my profile,
and I've heard
but it's
people,
still delicious.
I've heard people be like, "Oh, it reminds me of Jack." Then you don't have the right cut, or it hasn't been done well. Mine is berry and skunk. And a little bit of cream.
I don't get any of that hazy. Yeah, that's not.
Now. And this is a whole other discussion, really. But I did see the Jack characteristics in a lot of the beans that were popped, either like Mac V2, stuff like that. So I think it is in there,
but it's not. Yeah,
but not Mac 1. Nah. So anyway, mine is. So
I'm actually I'm gonna go along with that because my number 3, and again, I'm talking more commercial world, is Durban poison.
Cool.
And people wouldn't really think that, but
didn't see that coming.
You didn't see that coming. But when it comes to commercial viability and ticking those boxes, it's got the sweet. It produces like a mofo.
It does. I'll give you that.
Qualified as a sativa, but the nice thing about it is you can get that thing down in 60 days, no problem. It grows footballs. When you're talking about ticking all the boxes for commercial viability,
okay.
I see the look on your face, and you're like, man, you make some good points.
I'll give you that in just a sense that it does, that it does hit the boxes.
And it ticks that sweet profile. If people are looking for a Jack, if people are looking for those types of flavors.
I mean, I will say when I was in South Africa, I was definitely excited to smoke some Durban in South Africa. And
just so people know, that's where it's from. That's that's a region of South Africa.
Durban. Yeah. It's, KZN, Durban. In fact, I should be back there for all our South African listeners.
We got an interview coming up.
Yeah, we do. We actually have a Canna Club. We're going to be getting on here real soon. I believe I'm going to get my boy DeVille on here real soon.
We're going international, folks.
We should be in South Africa by May, by the cup out there. So we shall see.
We're going international, kids. Well, you've been going international for a year now. 2 years.
Well, I've been out. I've been about. So
what's your number 3? Are we at number 4?
I'm at number 4 actually, and that would be Pure Michigan.
Hell yeah. No, that's a funky one.
Dude, it's a little bit newer strain, if you will. It's just not, it's not like Gorilla Glue.
Yeah, you're ahead of the curve, bro. You're ahead of the curve.
I would have sworn the first time I smoked it and smelled it that it was a GMO cross because it had that funk. Reality is it's the Mendo breath that's in there. And that really brings out. So I believe, is it white truffle Mendo breath?
I think so.
And it's purple as hell. beautiful, strong stalks. Don't even really need to stake it.
It's a vigorous plant.
Super oily, easy to grow. And that's really one of the reasons I put it in there. If people can get it, their hands on it, it's a very easy grow. It's a beginner strain. You can throw about whatever at it. It doesn't seem to care. Hard to overwater. You know what I mean? So that's just, and I put it on there. One, I do really, truly enjoy the smoke. The bag appeal on it's top notch. It doesn't overstretch. It just big old greasy,
she throws
dense buds.
So it's funny. My pick would be the opposite, same, but different, in which I picked the Skittles, which is actually, I believe it's grape ape times grapefruit, in which I would have thought.
How did that happen?
I would have thought there was something with a Z in there, but the one thing I like about it is same as what you said, extremely vigorous. The flavors on it are extremely pronounced. It is more of that candy than the funk.
Yeah.
Finished, I got it down in 60 days. And let me tell you, this thing absolutely throws down. There were a bunch of cups that just finished up recently. I want to say 3 of the top 5 were either Skittles or Skittles crosses.
Flavor wise, when it goes, it is so good. I remember smoking it in a blunt.
So good.
Now I will say, I remember the first time seeing it growing and I was like, what is that mutant?
Yeah. It gets out there.
And I will say, shout out to Niche Cannabis and our boy Dane out there. He's the first person I ever saw actually make Skittles look healthy and vigorous, but he was the only one that would touch it. He hand watered it. It is a bit of a finicky strain. If you can nail it, you can nail it. But I will say it's not a beginner strain. Just my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's a banger though, So what's your number 5?
Okay, number 5, and it's funny because these are a lot of them are really in similar flavor profiles. Right. And this is actually going to be a GMO cross, unicorn poop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good old unicorn poop. Because
that
really,
from your homies down in Florida?
No, that's actually from out here. Was selected here in Denver, actually.
Okay.
Our boy AK, actually. I don't think he's at the facility anymore, but shout out to AK. It's GMO cross sophisticated lady, I believe, right? Which is, I'm going to say, is a thug pug genetic, if I'm not mistaken. They're in the little orange packages. To me, it's updated GMO. It's GMO 2.0. It's got better structure. It's got better bag appeal. It's got thicker buds. Finishes faster. Still has the funk. So because I like GMO so much as a smoke, like GMO and unicorn poop.
Yeah, kind of off the radar too. Yeah, it's not one you hear a lot about.
It's not one you hear a lot about, but it is a great strain if you guys can get your hands on it. One of my favorites. So I guess that rounds out my 5. GG4, GMO, Mac, Pure Michigan, and unicorn poop.
Any honorable mention? Anything you couldn't...
honestly, but it's nothing I've ever grown, but you did say, I will say probably some of the tastiest, and I remember it was from back in the Way to Grow days. I can still remember being there in the parking lot. Dude, some grape ape, some old school grape ape. The flavor on that was next level.
Yeah.
Next level.
That was like the original
next level
darker weed.
It was.
And it wasn't. But it was incredible.
And then, I will do one last little shout out. I'm going to mention too, old school Sour D, right? Because we talk about, it's not the genetics out there. I just don't think it's being run the same way. That old school Foco Sour D in like 2012 to 15. Some of my favorite smoke ever. So anyway, that's kind of mine.
Can I throw one at you?
Yeah, throw.
I discovered one of my favorite strains I've ever grown. This, not the last harvest, but the one before that, was this emergency I got from our friend JR Token out in Oregon.
JR.
Dude, I had sugar fan leaves. Like, I'm a big fan of like the putrid, like I like the lemon G. So like I can go a little sweet, but as long as it's really nasty. And this emergency was kind of like Lemon G Senior. It's it's like this new fruity, rotten, disgusting, and sugar fan leaves. The petioles all the way up, just frosted.
Look at this guy using horticultural terms and everything. Holy shit.
I'm the one junior jug dealer.
That's the one thing I always loved about running some of Compound Genetics was Compound was always like the frostiest herb.
Yeah.
So let me give you my number 5.
Let's get it.
My number 5 is actually going to be the True Kush, AKA the Crippy. And again, as far as commercial viability, when it comes to OGs, it really is one of the best. It's nice and greasy. It's that dark green, and it really gives you a lot of those gassy, piney, lemony. It's an equal parts of the gas, lemon, pine that I love of OGs. And it throws down, and not for nothing, often disputed, it is the original OG Kush, you know? So,
Well, and I remember it was actually Coma, I think, was the first person who was like laughing. He's like, bro, the genetics did not come from California. They came from Florida.
and
And it went quickly to California. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
And then was redisseminated from California. But don't get it twisted.
And then honestly, my honorable mention in that would be another OG Kush, and I would say OG Kush family, which would be the Tahoe, the Tokyo, the Mars, which are that, the burnt rubber terp phenos. I got to find the name, what terp that is, because the burnt rubber, like when it feels like a car's like doing a burnout on your tongue, that for me is my favorite flavor, period, especially considering I love the extracts.
Sure.
Screamin's in there as well. But yeah, that's my honorable mention is those burnt rubber.
We used to run, that reminds me of a Jabberwocky we used to run, which is a Lucky Charms cross. The fattest, greasiest, gnarly, and it was just gas, bro. Gas.
Yeah, I love that flavor. I don't know what about it does it for me, but it is the thing.
It's got to smell like gas can, huh?
You know, I like going to the drag strip. So
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nothing like the smell of burning dinosaurs.
It's like a burnout on your tongue.
You know, that's a real thing, man. When you smoke it, it's like, God, it's the best.
So anyway, this is definitely kind of a, an episode that we've been talking about doing a little bit. And, I always think it's fun to talk about genetics. It's something we had asked so much about, even when we did the terpene episode, it was like, that was almost kind of an off branching of like, how can you do like almost a selective flavor, which isn't really possible, but like thinking about that, how can we start, really selecting for ourselves flavor and effect?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't get into it in the terpene episode, but one of my dreams in cannabis, and one of the reasons I'm so interested in extracts, is because I see them fractioning it off at some point. So you actually can go in and go, I want this much linalool. I want this much mercy,
in my defense of that, I don't want to do that. I want nature to do that.
I don't disagree.
I'm going to let I'm going to let Mother Nature.
We just got to keep pheno hunting. And in that respect,
you're right.
In that respect, everybody, we love you guys. We love putting on episodes like this. Keep pheno hunting. Keep popping growing, beans. Keep popping beans.
And I will say, if you guys have any good, I always like to mention this. If you have good episode suggestions, if you have, different subjects you're curious about, throw them out there. You never know. We might do an episode.
And by all means, throw in the comments some of your favorite genetics, or whether you agree with our list or you think it's completely whack.
Yeah. Is our list shit or no?
And don't forget about that jugdealers.net/samples.
Thank you guys. Hey, again, come see us in Vegas. We're there right now. We are in Vegas. We're at the booth only for another maybe hour, but we'll be back again tomorrow. Come and see us. And we very much appreciate it. Actually, we'll be at the booth tomorrow because this is Tuesday. The first day is going to be tomorrow. Come see us tomorrow. First day of Vegas, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, December 4th, 5th, and 6th, Cultivator Hall. See you there. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you tuning in.
Much love.